Envision this, a metropolis fraught with tension, its denizens haunted by the apparition of an unseen killer. The Chicago Strangler, a moniker that induces shivers in anyone lucky enough to merely hear of it and not experience it. Let's plunge into the obscure depths of the Windy City, where a nebulous entity prowls, an anonymous terror known only as the Chicago Strangler. This isn't the stuff of urban myths or cinematic terrors. Rather, it's a bone-chilling actuality believed to have taken at least 50 lives since the outset of 21st century. These victims, predominantly African-American women eking out a living on the city's periphery, share a common narrative. They were all part of a profession that flourishes in the darkness, a line of work often neglected and stigmatized: sex work. Their existence was not easy, punctuated by prior encounters with a penal system more prone to penalize than safeguard. The Strangler's modus operandi is as savage as it is definitive. The victims were not just killed, they were asphyxiated, their vitality quite literally choked out of them. In a final act of debasement, they were partially or fully disrobed, their bodies strewn across the city as grotesque mementos of a perverted pursuit. The city's arteries, once bustling with vitality, are now regarded with apprehension, feared as potential stalking grounds. The city's heartbeat, once dynamic and vibrant, now falters, its rhythm disturbed by the deadly tempo of an unseen killer. The ghost of the Chicago Strangler overshadows the city, a chilling testament to the darkness that skulks within societal crevices. As the death toll escalates and the years pass, the city of Chicago is left grappling with a chilling enigma. Who is the Chicago Strangler? In the tumult of turmoil, distinct patterns often materialize. In this instance, a bone-chilling sequence does indeed. Our expedition leads us to the Murder Accountability Project, a cadre of keen-eyed investigators devoting their efforts to the meticulous analysis of data and making connections. It was they who first pinpointed a recurrence in these unresolved cases. A recurrence that signals the existence of an active, elusive menace lurking in the bylanes Chicago. As we probe further into their revelations, we unearth that the sequence is far from random. It's not dispersed across the sprawling terrain of the Windy City. On the contrary, it's focalized, centered specifically in certain police jurisdictions. These are regions infamous for their rampant violence and pervasive drug culture. These are territories where existence is devalued, and death, tragically, is a regular intruder. The victims, predominantly black women, many of whom eke out a living on the streets, share more than their heart-rending destiny. They've all crossed paths with the justice system in the past. Their lives, already scarred by adversity, culminated in savagery. They were throttled, their bodies unclothed to varying degrees, and discarded in diverse locales. The Murder Accountability Project, utilizing their data and analytical expertise, connected these unnerving commonalities. They sketched a portrait of a menace, a serial killer who appeared to be operating with immunity in these crime-infested enclaves. In light of this sequence, one fact becomes glaringly apparent. The Chicago Strangler is no mere fabrication of fantasy. This is a tangible threat, a murky figure who has claimed a minimum of 50 lives. And until this individual is apprehended, the streets of Chicago are haunted by a phantom of death. In every tale of villainy, there are the antagonists, the casualties, and the would-be saviors. However, in this episode, the champions may not be those you anticipate. Today, we delve into the reaction from the Chicago Police Department to the horrifying sequence that materialized from the shadows of this bustling metropolis. In the face of an inescapable trail of victims, the law enforcement has unceasingly dismissed the existence of a serial murderer. An intriguing position, bearing in mind the palpable evidence at their disposal. It's as though they've strapped on blinkers, obstinately disregarding the imminent threat. One might conjecture that 50 unresolved murders, most bearing striking resemblances, would cause more than mere speculation. A majority of the victims were African-American females, several of whom were connected to the sex industry and had previously tangled with law enforcement. They were asphyxiated, their bodies discarded partially or completely nude at varying sites. This frightening sequence hints at a lone wrongdoer, or perhaps an assembly employing the same malevolent modus operandi. Yet the Chicago Police Department appears unyielding in its stance, asserting that these are unrelated occurrences. They've successfully resolved 25 cases, culminating in the apprehension of 13 men. But what of the others? The remaining 25 cases are yet cloaked in an enigma, their victims pleading for justice from beyond the realm. These unresolved murders are not mere figures, they are daughters, sisters and mothers. Their existences held significance. And yet, the official reaction has been disappointingly apathetic. A looming question is why? Why this reluctance to recognize the likelihood of a serial murderer? Is it a quest to safeguard the city's reputation? Or does it reveal a more profound issue tied to the victims' histories? The Murder Accountability Project, an autonomous body devoted to unraveling unsolved murders, has discerned a pattern in these cases. They propose the presence of an active serial murderer. However, their deductions seem to be dismissed without consideration. The authorities remain unyielding, unimpressed by the accumulating proof. So we ask, with the police department in denial, who can the people of Chicago turn to for justice? Every narrative is imprinted with its champions. Among them, in this tale, are the individuals who persist tenaciously and defy suppression. In the bustling epicenter of the Windy City, a surge of activism has ascended, provoked by the sinister phantom of the Chicago Strangler. Their proclamations, resonating and unequivocal, reverberate through the bustling thoroughfares, advocating fairness for the tragically fallen. These courageous warriors, a number of whom have personally tasted the bitterness of loss, are battling relentlessly for an exhaustive and equitable inquest into these appalling atrocities. Loved ones of the victims, burdened with the weight of sorrow, have bravely stepped into the limelight. They are seeking clarity, demanding equity, and their cries have not been disregarded. The Chicago populace has coalesced around them, their unified voice amplifying, growing increasingly assertive. They long for resolution, for solace, and paramountly, for the cessation of this horrifying reign. Civic leaders, campaigners, and anxious inhabitants alike have shouldered the responsibility in this struggle for fairness. They've coordinated demonstrations, initiated petitions, and extended their reach to the press, all with the aim of illuminating these unresolved murders. Their objective? To ensure that these 50 women, whose lives were ruthlessly extinguished, do not fade from memory. The Murder Accountability Project, a faction committed to making law enforcement answerable for solving homicides, has made a significant contribution. They've recognized a pattern in the outstanding cases, hinting at the existence of a serial murderer at large. Their discoveries have invigorated the fight, adding a sense of urgency to the community's demand for action. These champions, these crusaders of fairness, are refusing to back down. They confront the denial of the Chicago Police Department head-on, disputing the claim of no evidence of a serial killer. They remain steadfast, vowing not to be muffled until the truth has been unveiled. In the face of adversity, the citizens of Chicago stand resolute, advocating justice for the casualties of the Chicago Strangler. As dusk descends over the Windy City, the enigma of the Chicago Strangler persists. This narrative of horror originated in 2001 when the inaugural victim was unearthed. Henceforth, the tally of casualties escalated to 50, all females, predominantly African American. Many were associated with the world's most ancient occupation and had prior encounters with the law. The perpetrator's method was eerily identical. Most victims were throttled, scantily or wholly unclothed, then jettisoned at diverse sites. Despite the of 13 individuals and the resolution of 25 incidents, the ominous pall of these unsolved homicides looms over the metropolis. The Murder Accountability Project, an entity committed to scrutinizing homicide data, discerned a trend in these unresolved crimes. This trend alluded to the existence of a prolific murderer, a conjecture the Chicago Police Department has been reluctant to concede. The predicament of the Chicago Strangler continues to baffle, generating more queries than solutions. Why are these brutalities confined to distinct police districts notorious for violent offences and drug consumption? Is a genuine murderer at large, or are these disparate acts of 13 separate offenders? If a serial killer is indeed present, as the Murder Accountability Project posits, why has this criminal remained elusive for over 20 years? These are the interrogations that plague Chicago, questions that necessitate responses. As we probe further into the puzzle, we observe a metropolis in turmoil, a city yearning for retribution for the deceased. Activists are amplifying the strain, advocating for a more comprehensive inquiry into these unsolved homicides. The city will not cease until the truth is unmasked, until the individual or group accountable for these atrocious deeds face their punishment. As the investigation of Chicago's Strangler lingers, one fact remains incontrovertible. The city of Chicago will not halt its pursuit until justice prevails.